This video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN.
Hey everyone, Ace of Clay here. Welcome to another sculpting video. Today we're making a creepy, fleshy, eyeball-covered sketchbook cover. So in the past, I've customized several different things. I did the alien phone case, the hydro flask, the alien sketchbook cover, the fleshy sketchbook cover with the teeth and the tongue, the Christmas ornament that had the eyeballs and the teeth on it. Now it's time to do another sketchbook cover, but this time I really wanted to cover it in eyeballs, and I thought this would be the perfect transition into the Halloween and spooky season sculptures. And I also thought it would be a nice break from my normal style and content that you're used to seeing on my channel. So if all of this sounds good to you and you're ready to get started, then follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Ace of Clay, and let's go. Alright, the first step is to create the eyeballs for the sketchbook cover. So to create the sclera or whites of the eyes, I'm going to be using Sculpey Souffle. No particular reason why I'm using the souffle line, I just had it laying around and I thought I'd use it for the first time on this project. Then to sort of tone the white down a little bit, I'm going to mix in a little bit of my Super Sculpey in the color beige, and this is just giving me a more natural looking tone. How does that look? Not bad. Now for the next step, we have to work on the irises. I printed out these irises at 12, 16, and 25 millimeters. I drew these in Photoshop a long time ago, and I really love how this color green looks. And then I have some cabochons that are the same size of them, and then I also have some hole punches for my 12 millimeter and 16 millimeter irises that are going to help me cut them out much easier than using scissors. So we're just going to go ahead and cut out all the 12 millimeter ones really quick, and then the 16 millimeter, and then I'm going to have to cut out the 25 millimeter one with my scissors because I don't have a hole punch that size. And all of the materials and tools that I use in this video are listed in the description box below, along with my affiliate links if you want to purchase anything. And once I've got all my irises cut out, we're going to go ahead and set those aside and then work on our scleras. And before I do that, I just want to coat my surface with some cornstarch to prevent the scleras from sticking, and when I pick them up, I don't want to mess up the shape that I create. So I'm just going to take this little ball of clay and then create this nice dome shape. And I want the domes to be relatively flat. I don't want them to stick out too far because, again, this is going to be on a book cover, and if they stick out too far, that's going to get in the way if I ever decide to use this thing. Now I'm going to take my iris, press it in the middle, and then take the cabochon that fits on that iris and press it in like so, and then sort of push the clay up against the cabochon so that I create a nice, perfect circle. And I'm just going to repeat this process until all of my eyes are done. And there we go. They're all looking pretty good. I got them sort of looking in different directions. They're not all just exactly in the middle there. We're going to go ahead and bake these. And once they're baked and completely cooled down, we are going to coat each one in resin to give it a nice glossy sheen. I added some scrap clay here to hold the eyes as I'm adding the resin. And then the first step before I add the resin is I have to remove all of the cabochons. The reason I'm doing this is because I want the resin to get behind the cabochon to create a magnifying effect and make the eyes look more realistic. You'll see what I mean. So once that's all removed, I'm going to go ahead and grab some fibers for the veins that I'm going to add, and then we're going to mix up our resin. I'm using a 2-part epoxy resin. The brand is Amazing Clear Cast by Alumilite. And just know, when you're working with resin, please take all of the necessary safety precautions. Wear all the proper PPE. Resin is toxic. I'm going to go ahead and mix up the halves of the resin and hardener in this nice 1-ounce cup, and then I'm going to start adding it to my eyeballs, to the irises first, like that, and then I'm going to press in my cabochon, making sure to remove all of the air from underneath, and then I'm going to go ahead and add some more resin over the entire surface, and then once I have that first coat on, I'm going to follow this with some of my red fibers to create those veins. And once all my veins are placed, I'm going to go ahead and follow this with another coat of resin, which will just sort of seal everything in. And we're just going to repeat this process until all of the eyes are done.
24 hours later.
And would you look at that? The resin is hardened and the eyes are looking pretty good. I didn't mention this earlier, but make sure when you put the fibers on, you do not put any over the irises. You just want them on the white part. And now it's time to start the sketchbook cover. I got this nice 5x8 drawing sketchbook. It is completely blank, of course, and I'm going to put the clay on this side so that it sort of covers the logo and the back is completely blank. And I can flip the book like this because the inside is exactly the same on each side. So I rolled the clay through my pasta maker on the thickest setting. I'm adding it to the cover and I am trimming off the excess. Now we're going to take a little break here for a sec and talk about our sponsor.
Hi again. Now before we get back into our sketchbook cover, I need to talk a little bit about our sponsor, Surfshark. So if you're online all the time like I am, the internet probably knows a lot about you, and this is something we should care about. Surfshark is a VPN that encrypts your personal information so that nobody unwanted can see it. So let me put it this way. Do you want someone looking in your window at night? No, probably not. That's why you close the blinds. Think of Surfshark as blinds for your personal internet activity. Surfshark can protect your identity. It can protect you from those weird targeted ads that you feel like read your mind, data thieves that want your passwords and your credit card information when you're hooked up to public Wi-Fi. And the great news is you can have all of this amazing security for literally 83% off, plus 3 extra months for free using my code AceOfClay. And it's totally unlimited. You can use Surfshark on as many devices as you want, and you can even use all of them at the same time. No other VPN allows this. And I have to mention they have 24/7 live customer support and a 30-day risk-free money-back guarantee. So if you're ready to start protecting your eyeline activity with Surfshark, head on over to the link at the top of the description box below. Use my promo code AceOfClay for 83% off plus 3 extra months for free. Now back to our sketchbook cover.
Alright, now that I've got that nice chunk of clay figured out for the cover, I'm going to carefully remove it, and then we're going to start adding our eyeballs. I just want to sort of place them on there, see what kind of arrangement I want to create. Alright, I think I know what I want. So I'm going to place the first eye, the one with the largest iris, the 25mm ones, add some bacon bond to the back, and then stick it on like so. And I'm going to get a lot of questions. Yes, you can bake the eyes like this with the resin. The only thing you have to be careful about is you do not want any air behind the eyeballs, or else it will create pressure and the eyes will crack. And if they crack, I have no idea how to fix them. So if you plan on baking your eyes into your sculpture like this, make sure there is no air behind them. And just another note really quick, when I bake resin eyes like this into my sculptures, I do not use the oven that I cook in. I have a separate one that is just for stuff like this. Alright, now as you can see, I'm going in and adding some eyelids and little tear ducts right there. So I'm going to go ahead and have some fun with that, get these eyes figured out, and get this thing going. Alright, now once I have all the eyes placed and the eyelids figured out, I'm going to go in with my cone-shaped rubber detail tool right here and start adding some wrinkles. Just gently going in like so over each eyelid. Now to make this thing even creepier, I'm going to go in and sort of make it look like it's been Frankensteined together, or sort of like taken apart and stapled back together. So going in with my Explorer tool to create these random lines around all my eyes. And then I'm going to go ahead with some tiny snakes of clay, or thin snakes of clay like this, and I'm going to go up against each of those lines I just drew to create a sort of lip and make it look a little more realistic. Now once all the major areas have been sculpted, I want to add this back to my book cover so that I can trim it again and make sure that it is exactly the right size. Now to finish up the skin texture and smooth everything out and kind of make the skin texture easier to do, I'm going to add a generous amount of clay softener and brush it on, sort of smooth out the surface to a point that I like, and then I'm going to go in again with that cone-shaped rubber tool and start the skin texture. And the clay softener really makes this step easier, like I just said. It sort of helps avoid those little crumbly pieces you get when you're rubbing your tool against the clay like this, and it just makes it easier and smooths everything out and makes it look more realistic. So that's what I like to do there. And then I'm sort of dabbing off a little excess with that paper towel just because I did add a little too much clay softener. So add a little bit at first and then just work your way up. Now for the staples that's going to connect all these different pieces of skin, I'm going to use actual staples for a staple gun. We're just going to separate them with some pliers and then cut off the little pointy ends, make them a little shorter, and then add them to the sculpt, like that. This was a nice touch. I'm really glad I did this. Alright, once all those staples are in place, I'm going to pick it up and stick it back on the book cover one last time to make sure the sizing is correct, and then we're going to get this thing in the oven. And no, I did not bake it directly on the book cover. I removed it and baked it on a sheet of glass that I got from an old picture frame. And once it's baked and completely cooled down, it's time for paint. It baked very nicely, no cracks. For the most part, I think one of the eyeballs cracked, but that's probably my fault for overlooking the air that was underneath it. But anyway, I'm going to go in with a nice dark brown wash, which is just watered down acrylic paint all over the surface, and then I'm going to dab off the excess with a paper towel. And then all of the paints that I'm using for this project are Folk Art brand matte acrylics and varnishes. Now that I've got my first layer of wash down and it's dry, I'm going to go in with some Barnyard Red on all of the seams just to make them look a little more gross and I guess maybe infected. Now with a finer paintbrush and a more dense wash, I'm going to go in with some dark red and sort of add some details around each of the eyes. Now in some of the areas around the eyes, I want to go in with some red, violet, and true blue to sort of create a more realistic skin color and maybe add some, I guess, bruising and just make it look more real. And the trick to keeping this thing looking realistic is to make sure that you are only using washes to paint it. If you use straight up paint colors, it is just going to make it look completely flat. You have to water down your paint and just layer it and layer it and layer it until it looks exactly how you want it to. Now I'm just going in with some matte varnish to give the skin a nice dewy, like, sort of texture and look. And now for another added detail, I'm going into each of the seams and the area around the eyes with some high gloss varnish. Now we're going to let this thing dry for a couple hours, and then once it's dry, we're going to attach it to our book cover with some E6000 industrial adhesive. Be careful with this stuff. It smells really bad and it's really bad for you, so just be careful. Now I'm just going to add a bunch of it to the book cover, spread it around with a disposable glue brush, and then place my book cover like this. Then make sure it's firmly positioned, and then I'm going to add some little chip back clips to hold it in place. And it's done! My creepy Frankenstein eyeball sketchbook cover is complete. Let me know what you think of it in the comments.
And that's a wrap! I really hope you enjoyed this video and you liked watching me make this creepy eyeball sketchbook cover. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you create one for yourself, be sure to tag me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at AceofClay so I can take a look. And as always, thank you so much for watching and being here. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and then follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at AceofClay. Check out my Facebook group, Snakes of Clay, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.